We will have Sheikh Yusuf Estes talking to you next. And we will have a question and answer session after the program is over. We are going to allot a substantial number of, substantial time for the Q&A, inshallah.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulullah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa la sharika lah. Wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu ma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum. You still awake, huh? Okay. We didn't bore you to death yet, but we'll work on it, inshallah. My name is Yusuf. Can you say Yusuf? Let me say Yusuf. Yeah, very good. I wish you'd teach my wife. She keeps mispronouncing it. She calls me useless. Alhamdulillah. Now, how many of you were in the program today? I was teaching us, trying to teach about how to call the people to Islam called da'wah. How many were there? Okay? All right. I just used an example what I was telling you about. Remember I was telling you when you introduce yourself to somebody, you got to get friendly with them. So I just used an example right there. Because this will disarm the people. This disarm them and make them relax a little bit. Because they're coming to you with things like, how come you Muslims has to kill all the people? What kind of question is that? How come you have to beat your wives? Why does your book tell you that you're the only ones going to go to paradise? So these kind of questions, when they come to you, what are you going to do? So the first thing, as we said in the program, and I hope, by the way, if you didn't join us today, join us tomorrow. Are we continuing tomorrow on the Dawah thing or no? Oh, okay. But when we're doing it, you look through the schedule. I'm not going to get into that, but just look through the schedule and join us for this whenever we're talking about the Dawah. Because part of giving Dawah is you. And if the people aren't buying it, they're not going to listen to what you got to say. So you got to soften them up a little bit. Got me? Okay, where are we? The subject tonight is the subject of priests and preachers entering Islam. And often people ask me, we heard about you used to be a priest or something and you came into Islam, so, tell us about it. We want to know, how does that happen? And it's not just Muslims who want to know. Non-Muslims would like to know the story too, because they feel like, you mean you didn't understand? I mean, you were a priest, you didn't understand about Jesus? Come on, man. So, it's a topic that I talk about a lot. The first thing I have to do is clarify a couple of points. I was not a priest. In the English, we use the word priest to mean somebody who is in the Catholic Church. If you're not from the Catholics, if you're from the Protestants, then you don't use that term. We usually use the term, for instance, pastor, minister, preacher, reverend, and these are some of the titles. We came up with an awful lot of them because that's the way humans are, right? Give ourselves titles. So, I was a preacher and a minister of music. But that doesn't really matter, but just if you're talking to a Christian and you say a priest, he's going to say, oh my God, how is that? And when they find out, oh, you weren't a Catholic, well, that's a lie then, you weren't a priest. So I want to clarify that. As a matter of fact, I will tell you in my own estimation, I'm probably the least of the factions within this equation. Because there were so many other people that came into Islam the same time I did. That's why it takes a little bit of time to tell the story. But they asked me to tell it tonight, so we're going to do that. But I want you to listen carefully to realize what goes through the mind of a person that's not Muslim. Okay? And I usually start out by telling people that my father and I were both ministers, and both of us were also businessmen. In the reverse order. We were business first and preacher second. Got me? Because, well, as they say, business is business. And that's exactly how it worked. We operated mostly in Texas. We had a place in San Antonio, Houston, and also in the Dallas area. And we were very concerned about Christian conditions. So my father started something called Concerned Christian Centers. And basically, if you look at it from a material point of view, it was a place to sell stuff. But what we would do is take consignment things in. People could bring things into us, and then we would sell it and keep part of the money. And keep a lot of the money. But anyway, they would bring in what they make with their hands, arts and crafts. And a lot of old women, they like to sit around and make things. Then they give it to us. And this helps the church, which is called the church. And then it helps them as well. So it became like business and religion tied together. And that's very common in our country. At one point, my father told me, we're going to start doing business with a man from Egypt. Well, I said, well, this is great. International. It sounds good. We can put this in our business card. We're international. He said, and this man is from Cairo, Egypt. And that's where, if you know, they have the Nile River. They have those big pyramids. They have the Sphinx, Abu Hul. You know, they got everything. I'm saying, oh, this is good. He said, and he's a Muslim. I'll never forget it. I've told the story many times, but it's just like it happened yesterday. I'm standing in between the kitchen, or in the dining room and the living room area. You know, like this when we're talking, and I just stopped like this. I said, what? A Muslim? No way. No way do I want anything to do with that. Dad, come on. You should know better than anybody. Because we were linked in with other preachers. My father supported people like Pat Robertson. Huh? You know him? Pat Robertson? And Oral Roberts. He's not very popular anymore, but he used to be real strong. And his ministry up in Tucson, Tulsa, Oklahoma. In addition to that, people like Benny Hinn. I don't know if you heard of Benny Hinn. He's coming over this way, so look out. And there's many of them. John Hagee, and the list goes on. Jerry Falwell, Jimmy Swaggart. Some of the names, maybe you heard those before. We know these people. We know all about them. All about them. Okay? So at one point, here I am standing there talking to my father about a Muslim. These are the enemies of God. This is what we've been taught. These same people, I just mentioned their names, in their preaching on the television and so on, this is what they teach. Muslims are no good. Now it just became Muslims are terrorists. But back then, you know, we didn't reach that level yet. We were still just kidnappers, hijackers, you know. They said that Muslims don't believe in God, that they're worshiping a black box in the desert, and they kiss the ground 5 times a day. Now that's what we know, man. So here's this Muslim going to do business with us. I told my dad, no way, I'm not going to do it. And he insisted. He said, I want you to meet this man. He's very nice. And I said, I don't want to meet him. I never am like this, by the way. But on this case, I said, no, that's one thing I'm going to stand firm against. We're not going to do it. He said, I want you just to meet him. I said, all right, I'll do it for you. I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to go to church. And it's going to be on Sunday. When I come out of the church, I'm going to have my Bible under my arm. I'm going to have the salib. I used to carry a big cross. I'm going to have my cross with me. And I'm going to have my hat that says, Jesus is Lord. And I'm going to have my wife, born-again Christian, with me. And we are going to get this demon, devil, infidel, Muslim. And we're going to show him Jesus. Okay? Now, this is a true story, by the way. So I got up that morning on Sunday, and I was thinking, man, you know. We went to church. Strangely enough, the preacher was preaching out of the Old Testament about salvation coming at the time of David, which really puzzled me, because according to Christianity, it's coming through Jesus. And it really, that opened a door for me, but that comes up later in the story. Why was he saying there's salvation before Jesus? That's interesting. Now, when I get there to my father's store, I'm looking around, you know. I'm looking for somebody wearing, you know, a long white robe and some kind of black, you know, thing over that with a long beard. And I guess I was looking for me, wasn't I? Anyhow, when I get in there, I don't see this guy. By the way, imama, sword, everything. Ayatollah Khomeini, maybe. This is what I had pictured. I said, where is he? I'm ready. My father said, he's over here. I said, where? I said, here. This is a normal